give to points and circumstances stated under section 3.16 and 17. I mean, I'm aware that the section 3.25 states that licensing authority will not consider the fact that other premises in the vicinity already have later hours as a justification for granting similar or extended hours, and each applicant will be considered on its individual merit. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. So, in general, in Wivenhoe, the licences aren't very late because of the way, you know, it's quite residential there, and you know, lots of families live there. So, I off the top of my head, I think midnight is possibly the latest, which is probably the pub down on the front. But as you quite rightly pointed out, each case is taken on its own merit. And in line with the matrix that we've got on 3.14, so classed as an off licence essentially, in a mixed commercial and residential area, the policy essentially allows for until midnight, and the applicant has put in until 10 p.m. So it's technically within what would be recommended by the policy. Does that help?
Yes, thank you very much. And my second question is, my understanding that PSBO that we currently have is for the city centre of Colchester. And although we have vehicular nuisance public space protection order and dogfalling covering the whole district, I don't believe we have a PSBO in Wivenhoe. Would that be correct? And would it be accurate to say that consideration for a PSBO is based on the crime and ASB levels? Therefore, we should feel reassured that we don't have a PSBO in Wivenhoe.
That's correct, yes. No PSPO in Wivenhoe, and it is an evidential-based decision for an area when those, you know, ASB and criminal activity spike along with other matters. So, yeah, you're quite right.
Thank you very much. I wanted to respond to objections raised by objectors, but if Carl, you have questions, I can wait until you complete your questions.
You carry on, Kamal. Yeah, I've got just one on there. Listen to what you're saying. It's more of a hybrid bar or hybrid off license by the sounds of it, where people can come in. There isn't. Is there going to be seating in there, or is it literally will just be a standing bar for them to try? And does that mean that anybody can just come in and try, or will you have sessions when they can drink, or? And are you charging for them to try, or is it a free sample for them to take away?
Chair, am I okay to answer? Fantastic question. I think in relation to that, the floor plan I would refer to is detailed in there in terms of the shelving and the layout and the fact. In terms of charging and not charging, I don't wish to comment in terms of exact prices or charging or key details of that aspect. I wouldn't like to say if we are or not, because obviously the key DPS protector here is Josh Patrick, and he isn't here today to comment on that. So I don't think I'm fair to comment on that situation in terms of key charging of that. However, if you interpret this as, say, an independent Majestic meets Two Brews within Colchester, where you have a unique different offering of premium wine, spirits, beers that aren't available in the local area currently, sales will be done, but there is also the offer to try alcohol within the building. So tasting events will happen, but there is also an option if you don't come along to the tasting event, you aren't excluded for not attending. So you can say, I haven't had this before, am I able to try? And there is a tasting offering on site there. Obviously, it is not exclusive to every single bottle on the shelf, but there will be a selection of tasting wines and alcohols and beers for consumers to purchase. But I think it would be unfair to exclude people if they didn't wish to pay to come along to such events. Does that answer the question?
It does. What you will want to see is that they would talk about the thing about antisocial behaviour, which would be increased for the officers. Actually, is there a record of a lot of antisocial behaviour in there for that one? But if it, for example, sometimes if you are in a public house, if you wanted to try it, you can actually give you a very small amount to try whether you like it. And if certain people come around, it might encourage people coming just to keep trying samples. So how would you possibly control it's more of the controlling mechanism and of that, realistically.
I think in terms of samples in line with the licensed objectives, there's no sales to person intoxicated, there's no open containers to be permitted on taken off site, there's check 25 policy, log fail checks. Premium products are primarily on sale, which is less likely to attract a younger clientele and people coming in for a low alcohol price with high ABV product, if that answers the question.
Thank you. I think there was a question there for you as well.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, with regards to the ASB, antisocial behaviour, obviously there have been reports in Wivenhoe, but it's not outside of the trends we would expect for areas within the borough. But what I would say is that the reports that have made their way to us do tend to relate to youths and groups of youths that are hanging out on benches and parks and that kind of low-level vandalism, which, personally, I probably wouldn't tie to the type of premises the applicant is here to represent. Thank you.
Thank you very much for answering that. Obviously, you've read the, I think you had a question, Kamal, over the objectives, and I think the applicant has already listed some of those, his answers then. Did you want to continue with that train of thought of those objectives?
Yes, Chair. Objective A, they mentioned antisocial behaviour and also impact on residents and heritage area as well. But when I look to our policies, we have conditions in place and there are demands and actions to address all those points, from CCTV to alcohol limitation, not selling alcohol to anyone that appears drunk, and have notices asking visitors to be mindful of local residents' peace of mind when entering and leaving the premises, and again, not selling alcohol to anyone who may drink it nearby in residential areas or public places. And again, we have conditions in place to prevent public nuisance, public safety and prevention of crime and disorder. And there were concerns raised about economic unfairness to existing businesses, but in determining this application matter, we cannot consider the impact of granting an application on other businesses in the vicinity that is up for planning and the market. And then there was another point linked to oversaturation. So my question to offices regarding that, there are already premises with similar licenses. Do we know what conditions are in place for nearby premises to give some reassurance to residents that there will be similar conditions of premises and conditions?
Thank you, Councillor. So off the top of my head, I don't know the exact conditions, but what I would say is that if there is a licensed premises where it seems like those conditions are failing the public, failing the customers, we as the licensing authority would carry out a review, and there hasn't been a review of any premises in Wivenhoe, so it tells me that there's not the evidence to suggest that current conditions aren't working, although I can't tell you exactly what they are at those premises. Does that help a bit?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. That's reassuring. And there was a comment about granting a new license to a new operator could undermine existing businesses again, and it's also unnecessary given the current density. As mentioned earlier, that is up for planning and the market. Lack of community benefit. Again, this was addressed earlier, and it's not a matter that we cannot consider the impact of granting an application for other companies in the vicinity. I don't believe that the protection of children from harm had any previous reference or data to support it when it was mentioned by the objector, but along with a point within the prevention of public nuisance, which was not mentioned, the protection of children from harm is a point that I have some questions about. So if I will proceed to my questions for the applicant regarding prevention of public nuisance, this objective includes numerous sections. PN3 on communicating and integrating with local residents and businesses states that licensees are encouraged to consult with local residents and businesses prior to submitting an application for a new license to ensure that any issues that may arise in respect of the proposed operation of the premises can be addressed at the earliest possible stage and ensure the promotion of the licensing objectives. Again, licensees are expected to communicate with local businesses and residents to address and resolve relevant problems. And this could include giving contact telephone number to local residents so that they can report any issues to premises. And it is expected that contacts at the premises would be person in position of responsibility who are contactable, whether the premises are open to the public so that any issues can be addressed without delay. And then we have, and it also states that licensees could also arrange regular meetings with neighbours to ensure good relations. In essence, this is also referred and supported under section 2.5 and 2.6 of Guide to Policy. Equally on page 17, section 3.29 under key F4 states similar things. So my question is, could the applicant please clarify what type of communication and consultation they had with local businesses, residents, and also Matchkins Nursery and Preschool, which is, I understand, is only 120 meters away from the premises?
There's no legal objection to consult with local residents, and this can also lead to a hostile tenant starts. As an example, the current tenant is a vape shop. Although not licensed, it did post online about his plans to open the vape shop, and although he is now a valued part of the community, a loud majority of 4 to 5 individuals posted regularly negatively about this business before he'd even opened. This was at an earlier start in the year, before around COVID times, but that did lead to a negative start to him. We didn't want the community to get a chance to see this in this light and come with us with premature judgments. So we'd like them to see the value we can bring and have the full story rather than preconceived ideas via online forums, chats, or to individuals.
Thank you. Satisfied with the answer?
I'm not too sure if I received an answer of yes or no regarding if you had any communications with or consultation with local residents.
There's been no consultation with local residents, whilst we do know local businesses within the area, and I would say we are active members of the local community, being local businesses there. We know, for example, Victoria Young very well. She was previously Colchester-based. So whilst we have spoken to them about our ideas, there's been no formal consultation with local residents.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you. Right. So what's this one? I guess that's all of my questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your questions, Councillor Kapil. I've got a few questions. I see the conditions on the licence. You've got 11 sections there, and they're obviously standard ones, most of them. Before I ask the questions on the conditions, the timing, you've done your market research, or the owner has obviously, you've asked for 10 o'clock till 10 o'clock, I understand, with one day being slightly less. Your market research says you're going to be viable for the hours of that. When you got any thoughts on the viability?
Myself and Josh felt 10 PM gave us clear scopes to operate. as stated in previous conversations, it could have been later till 12, but we felt in line with the licensing objectives that our business plan model, looking at the local area, worked with us for 10 p.m.
Okay, so you're going to be busy, is it going to be enough there to keep you going from 10 o'clock in the morning, because that's the hours you've applied for?
I think, other than looking at this as people are going to come in and have a drink and stay there all day, I think this might be more of a situation of a family is ready to cook their Sunday dinner and is going to come in and purchase a nice bottle to take home and consume with dinner. So we feel like if you're planning to eat at 12, 1 o'clock, and if you wish to pop in within the morning and purchase that wine to take home and drink, then we can cater for that clientele.
Okay. On item 5, it says alcohol will not be delivered to any person other than at a residential or business address given. It will not be delivered to the persons in the vicinity of the premises or in a park, street or similar location. In other words, it's about delivery. That condition is on there, so it allows you to deliver. Will you be doing delivery?
We have scope and plans to deliver within the future. So as in line with the licensing, it's check 25 at the door, make sure the person we're talking to is over 18. And within that, there is the objective to take payment in advance for this.
You've got there before I did. Thank you very much. Yeah, that answers my question. I want to make sure that your delivery driver, whoever that he or she may be, will be mandated to check that they are who they say they are and that they are meet the challenge 25. What about the delivery drivers? Will they be over the prescribed age?
I think just to add to your point, there will be no third-party deliveries such as your Deliveroo, your Uber. As far as I'm aware, our market research conclude none of them operators operate within that. If we were approached via local forms, we are looking to keep everything in-house. So whilst I can't agree now to what's happening in the far, far, far future, yes, at the moment in time, the plans is everything will be controlled within in-house with our staff that are trained via us against the licensing objectives.
Thank you for that. It satisfies me. The item 9, 10, 11 talks about prevention of public nuisance, and as you quite rightly stated in your preamble, you've dealt with the objectives, and of course some of those concerns was about nuisance and ASB. Litter, that sort of stuff. I mean, just a few words from you on how you can control that outside your premises and inside, of course.
I think based on the proposed clientele with our Check 25 policy, and I think consumers, whilst it's hard to have them ideas of what people are going to do with their litter outside the premises, I think the control measures we have in place of the policy for them to be left quietly, no open containers to be left site, whilst I can't comment if they're going to go right at the top end of Wivenhoe what they do with it, but I think at the moment we've got the measures in place around the store sufficient to deal with the level of litter that could be foreseen.
Thank you. And I've also gone through the objections as my colleagues have, and I've put crosses and ticks to the bit that matters and don't matter, that can't be taken into account. I don't know if our legal expert wants to say a few words about that, because I see not many ticks on my page there that we take into account.
Yes, I mean, it's important that we hear all of the evidence that's before the committee, but it will be more a matter for myself in advising the committee in private. I can assure you that only those matters that affect the licensing objectives and are a matter for the committee will be considered. So it's just my reassurance to you, really.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. The other thing I just wanted to raise, and I think you've touched upon it, and Councillor Caffol mentioned it as well, engaging with local residents. I think that sounds quite a good idea. You're already a member of the local community. You said that in your statements, and you're well known in the area and part of the community. Would you be able to, in what ways would you be able to engage with local residents in a more positive way to change views and to work with people, take account of their opinions, etc.?
Wivenhoe has a really active local community, both online and in person. It is a really small, tight-knit community of people where lots of people know everyone. You have events throughout the year, such as the Christmas carols at the church, the regatta that's previously taken place this year. We're happy to extend services, obviously with licensing permitting, to do functions to cater to local communities, and as well as be part of the community. You mentioned, Camille, the Munchkin if I'm correct, the preschool, happy to look at prize donations and bits like that for local charity raffles and such forth ideas. Essentially, without excluding ideas, we're open to comments from the local community because we see the value and see how important it is to be a part of that community. There is somewhere where everyone knows everyone and everything, so everyone is very important in terms of what their comments are, good or bad.
Yes, thank you for that, thank you. We've already talked about the crime figures. We don't think there's any huge big there. It is what it is. So, any further questions? Please.
So again, primarily is a retail hybrid shop. What possibly could you guys do then to stop the risk of it becoming retail and moving more into hospitality because of the tastings? That's what, you know, suddenly will it be moving more towards a bar? So what can be done for it move, or maybe the public will see that actually this is just a crafty way of you getting a bar opened on a retail shop. So what will you be able to assure us on that to stop that happening as such?
I would say in terms of insurance, a bar would need to cater for a larger amount of people within the space. I don't think the space within the floor plan set out for the licensing proposal within the licensing objectives caters for a bar. I think it would not be set up and geared up with, there's no cellar, there's no chiller, cold room or any facilities to make a further bar within the facility. Is not what the licenses has been put forward to.
Thank you.
Yes, very good point, and thanks for answering that. Because looking at the site plan, I can see it's not a very big premises at all, is it? It's limited. Have you got numbers, just as an aside, have you got thoughts of the numbers you fit into a place like that in the space you've got in with the rules?
So within that, there is no outside area in terms of public consumption. So the floor plan, what you see within the license is the floor plan. That is it. There, in terms of numbers around that, you would be very tight fitted with 30, 25 people within there. It would be wall to wall, let's say. So I don't think it would suffice. We won't be serving you Sunday dinners in there with a pint, let's say. It's not quite that type of environment.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I thought the same thing as well. Look at the site plan, it's very well laid out and well planned. One of the objectors talked about traffic, and you in your application said you've got no control over that and most people would walk anyway. I agree both of those statements, but to allay to the people who might be listening outside about the yellow lines outside, what measures, how could you work with the authorities to ensure that your customers don't park a few minutes and run in and get the bottle of wine or park on the yellow lines? I know that would normally be down to traffic problems, etc., but is there any way that you can engage with customers to make sure they are discouraged from doing that?
I think that's a very good question. In terms of the products we're looking to offer, it is an involved purchase. You are not going there to know what is going to be on the shelf. You cannot just swing in, run in and grab it. It's not like your weekly packet of cigarettes, which you know what brand you're going to get and you run in and get it. This is going to be a retail offering of which it is an involved consumer decision where people spend time within. Under the lease, with traffic regulation, the building is under a lease to another business, which is not something we can control or comment on. We're looking to service the local community predominantly. There is provision for local parking, especially for a small premises. There is the car park opposite. There is lots of free parking at residence streets further along if it ever came to a problem, let's say.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I've got no other questions. No, okay. Now we'll give you the chance to sum up, give your final submission before we go away and consider the application. This is your chance to, and you're untimed, you can speak for as long as you like.
I'm going to talk for an hour, I'm joking. Perfect. I think I have covered most points, but thank you very much for the chance given me to respond to the objections, raise your time. I feel I have sufficiently responded to concerns raised, in addition to the fact I have no satisfactory professionals have made any objections Therefore, I would surmise that they agree that the grant of this licence will support the licensing objectives, and I'd like to end by asking the committee to approve the licence in its current form. Thank you.
Thank you very much, thank you. We now adjourn for, to go away and make deliberations, and we hope to come back at some time today, I hope. So do I. Meeting closed. Hello there again. Reconvening the meeting, the Licence Subcommittee hearing, the 7th of August 2025. Our decision is, following careful deliberations, the Licensing Subcommittee has reached the decision to grant the application by JL and JA Limited for a new premises licence in respect of the premises at 66 The High Street, Wivenhoe, CO79AZ, subject to the amendment of condition 5 offered by the applicant as follows. Item 5, alcohol will not be delivered to any person other than at a residential or business address given. It will not be delivered to persons in the vicinity of the premises in a park, street or similar location. All deliveries of alcohol will be conducted by staff directly employed and trained by the applicant who are at least 18 years of age. Now, in reaching its decision, the subcommittee carefully considered the information which had been placed before it as part of the application, including the representations which have been made by 2 interested parties. The subcommittee noted that a number of issues which had been raised by interested parties, such as parking provision, business needs, community benefit and heritage concerns, were not matters which it could consider. The subcommittee felt assured that the conditions which had been offered by the applicant were sufficient to address the concerns which have been raised, as well as promoting the licensing objectives. Additionally, the proposed operation of the business, as detailed in the application, was in line with the Council's statement of licensing policy. Now, all parties have the right to appeal this decision to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days of the date of this decision, and further information in relation to this will be provided by the licensing officer. That conducts the business of the meeting today, and we hope that your business takes off and goes well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Meeting closed.